side, I see the born, of no return. Just ahead now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now see the point of no return. It's just
Well, good evening. It's Tuesday again. Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. My name is Gary Hendershot. You're listening to Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network. And yeah, if you're a regular, you pretty well understand that I will be barking at the moon for about the next hour or so, as if anybody out there was really listening or really cared. Well, let's see. I'm starting to lose count over how many places the United States is involved in some level of warfare. I guess you guys heard that they finally got around to bombing Syria last night. Just before my bedtime, about 9 o'clock Eastern time here on the East Coast. Seems that the coalition of the unknown bombed strategic Islamic State targets in Syria. Now, not really sure at this point if Assad, the legitimate elected leader of Syria, gave a wink and a nod and said, yeah, we don't particularly like those SOBs either. If you're going to take them out for us, go get them. We don't really know. I mean, the upfront dialogue would have us believe that the United States and its unnamed allies, Saudi Arabia, Israel, UK, a couple other also RANs, bombed targets in Syria frivolously, without getting any sort of permission from the legitimate leadership of Syria to do that deed. Now, there's a couple interesting things to consider here. See, first of all, Syria is a sovereign nation. Now, whether you like Syria or not, it's irrelevant. Whether you like this guy, Assad, or not, is irrelevant. Syria is a sovereign nation, and, you just don't go bombing the territory of a sovereign nation without having some damn good reason. Usually, they hit us first, or, they're about to hit us, or whatever. You got a damn good reason. Or you're cooperating with them in some sort of military action. Yeah, good example is Iraq. Okay. Now, when this Islamic State outfit stormed into Iraq and started making trouble, our puppet regime that we handpicked and installed in Iraq immediately said, help! And, we were kind of honor-bound under our, I guess, gentleman's agreement to help them out. Syria's a little different. These Islamic State guys that we are now bombing were guys who we had hired to kick Syria's ass just a little while back. And now, in theory, we're bombing the guys who we financed, trained, and armed. You know, you got to remember, now, I am just an old country boy with straw for brains. It's real hard for me to keep track of all the players in this thing. Okay, now let me back up for a minute here. We got these bunch of boys, and they don't like Assad. And they say if we give them some money and give them some weapons, they'll go kick Assad's ass for us over in Syria. Well, see, you know, we can't be seen to, you know, invade a sovereign nation without some good reason. But, you know, if we can get these here Islamic fellas to go do it for us, that's fair and good. So, okay, we give them a whole bunch of money. We give them a whole bunch of weapons. We train them in Jordan. And then we sick them on Assad in Syria. Done deal, right? Yeah, boy, we were so smart. Yeah, we got these boys fighting those boys. We just sit back and watch, you know. And that way we can take out Assad without overtly being involved. Well, then it seems our buddies, who we had paid a lot of money to and given our best weapons to and all this good stuff, turn around and started picking on our buddies in Iraq. So now the guys who were our buddies, who were kicking the ass of our enemy, is now kicking the ass of our friend. So now we got to kick their ass. So we're helping out the guy who we originally wanted to kick ass. Like I say, you know, poor old country boy with straw for brains, you know, I get very confused over all this. But the bottom line is we are now engaged in what can only be described as open warfare. I mean, the United States has sent fighter bombers in there. We have sent Tomahawk missiles in there. We have blown up what is reported to us as Islamic State strongholds. Now, as far as collateral damage goes, reports are coming out that there have been significant civilian casualties. We've seen some surveillance pictures of what looks like fairly nice constructions that are now severely damaged. Now, we really don't have any idea what those buildings were that our military blew up. We don't know if that was an ISIS training facility or a freaking shopping mall. We have no idea. It's being reported to us that, oh, we hit the Islamic State hard, right where it hurts. You know, this president that we've got in office right now, Obama, you remember shortly after he got elected, he won the Nobel Peace Prize because he's just such a peaceful feller. And we elected him to replace a guy who a lot of us considered a warmonger. Remember Bush? Remember Bush? That guy Bush, you know, he's just getting us into one war after another, just, you know, blowing everything up. You know, we could not seem to control that guy. And we elected this here fella Obama thinking that we were going to have peace. This man promised us a return to peace. Do you realize that Syria is now the 7th nation that the United States has bombed since Obama became president? Yeah. You know, I mean, we've been bombing Afghanistan since 2001, so I'm not really sure we can blame Obama for Afghanistan, but he certainly didn't do anything to stop it. Another example is Yemen. We've been bombing Yemen since 2002, and Obama hadn't stopped that one either. Iraq, well, we all know the story of Iraq. I think every president in the last 25 years has bombed Iraq, so that's nothing new. Pakistan, now Pakistan's supposed to be one of our buddies, but we're repeatedly bombing wedding parties in Pakistan, and we've been doing it since 2004, and Obama didn't do much to stop that one either. So 7 nations in the world, including Somalia and Libya, 7 nations in the world have been bombed by the United States since our peace president, Obama, was elected to office. How's that sit with you? Now, I know, a lot of you out there saying, oh, those damn Muslims, they had it coming, they wear beards, so we need to blow them up. They brought down the trade towers. Yeah, that's our story, and we're sticking to it. And we all dance the hokey pokey to the right, and they dance the hokey pokey to the left. Therefore, by definition, we should have an excuse to blow them 7th century head cutter offers into oblivion. It sounds kind of ridiculous when I say it with a southern accent, doesn't it? These are the arguments that are being put out there. These are the arguments that are being put out there. Now, do we really know that these guys who our government is referring to as ISIL, I-S-I-L, do we really know for certain that they're the ones who chopped off these fellers' heads? We've seen what appear to be some pretty cheesy YouTube videos that may or may not have been done on a soundstage somewhere. We don't know. Basically, you have been sold using very advanced marketing techniques. You have been sold an argument to support an agenda to destabilize all of the Middle East. Syria is just, another notch on the gunfighter's pistol. There are more nations to come. One of the interesting things about bombing in Syria is that they have kind of a mutual defense pact with Iran, and they also have a mutual defense pact with Russia. Now, I'm not sure at what level U.S. involvement in Syria triggers those 2 treaty agreements. But in theory, there are treaties in force that would have Iran and potentially Russia coming to the aid of Syria in the case of a hostile attack. So, seems only a few weeks ago, I was sitting there biting my fingernails thinking, oh my God, this thing in Ukraine, somebody could make a wrong move and, that could be the one that lights off World War III, Well, it's kind of a tenuous ceasefire, kind of a tenuous peace, but right now it looks like, there's at least been a significant de-escalation. They've de-escalized. I'll have to look that up in the dictionary. I'm not sure how to say it in Southern. But they've basically stopped fighting each other, and they're trying to kiss and make up in Ukraine. At least it looks that way. I don't know what's happening in the background. Seems that some munitions factory blew up. And that was kind of scary. Oh Lord, are they getting started again? And there have been some incursions by the Western Ukrainians into an area called Donetsk, where the Easterners have set up kind of border guards. And then some of their border stations have been zapped. It's really hard to tell if we've got a lasting peace taking hold in Ukraine, because every once in a while it seems something else is blowing up there. We can only hope that kind of settles back into something looking like normal. Do you know who these guys, ISIS, are? Remember when Bush II, King Bush II, invaded Iraq, basically put all the mid-level bureaucrats and generals and everything in jail, tortured them miserably, and they were treated very badly. Saddam got executed. It was kind of a tumultuous time after our invasion of Iraq. Well, a lot of those generals who used to be on Saddam's staff, these were very well-trained, very capable military men, okay? Say what you want. These guys were pretty darn good warriors. Well, they now comprise the mid-level management of this Islamic State. These guys are no slouches. They are well-trained. They are European-trained. They are U.S.-trained. They are Israeli-trained. These boys know how to conduct a war, particularly a guerrilla war. They have very capable fighting skills. These guys are nobody to just slough off. So, that should concern our war planners in Washington, D.C. These guys are very good at the kind of hit-and-run warfare that was played out against the United States in Vietnam. A determined enemy prepared to dig in and just duke it out on a long-term basis will eventually run the United States out of gas. We're used to coming in with a whole bunch of shock and awe, a bunch of big bad weapons, and, the enemy just capitulates. We're not used to these long, drawn-out guerrilla-type wars, and that may indeed be what we're facing as we engage this Islamic State. I also think it's kind of interesting how Turkey is sitting there playing both sides of the fence. It was that when the United States would come running in, gonna kick Islamic State's ass in Iraq, they'd run over the border into Syria. Yeah, you can't hit me. And well, now of course we're starting to hit them in Syria. So what are they doing now? Well, when the U.S. comes in, they just run across the border into Turkey. And Turkey kind of looks the other way. Yeah. The Turks are playing, both sides against the middle. Not only have they decided not to participate in our coalition of the willing, in many ways, they're actually supporting the guys who we consider the bogeyman of the day. I think it's cool the way we, we used to have to check under my bed every night to make sure Osama bin Laden wasn't hiding under there. Now I'm checking under there every night to make sure that because that Baghdadi guy, he's even badder than Osama. you know, and I understand they got a bearded, turbaned Godzilla waiting in the wings so that when we get bored with the Islamic State, they'll have an even badder bad guy out there. It's all marketing. It's all hype intended to scare you into supporting this agenda aimed at destabilizing the Middle East. We do not want those people getting together, settling down, and building anything. As soon as they build it, we find a reason to go in and blow it up. And if we can't find some good reason, we'll invent a bogeyman, like the Islamic State. They're going to come and cut your head off. You better be scared. You better be very, very scared. Better check under your bed every night. And only by giving up more of your personal liberty can we possibly ensure your ongoing freedom. I'm hearing the music in the background. Boy, I timed that one just right. The studio needs to sell some goods to keep the lights burning, so stand by. I'll be back in just a few moments. Alrighty, we're back from our first break of the evening. Yeah, I was checking the chat room while we took that little break, and it's interesting. Apparently, we've got some Islamophobes out there. You know, if you say naughty things about homosexuals, they call you a homophobe. You know, if you say naughty things about Muslims, I guess it's fair to call you an Islamophobe. Let's see here. That's because we don't unleash the full force of our trained military. Have we forgot we will hunt them down no matter where they hide? Why? What did they do to you? Here's another one. Just realize people who slaughter women and children should be dead. Come on, Gary. How do you know that the Islamic State has slaughtered women and children? How do you know? Because you saw it on Fox? You heard it on MSNBC? You read it in the New York Times? Well, it's got to be true, right? I mean, mainstream media in the United States and Europe, surely would not lie to you to get you all excited and, get you, all up and in arms to go to war. I mean, bottom line, did they do anything to you? Okay? And, as far as killing women and children, how many women and children did the United States kill in Afghanistan and Iraq? How many? Any idea? See, the New York Times and the Guardian, they're not going to tell you that. How many women and children did Israel just recently kill in Gaza? And they got a pass. They flat got a pass. Oh, they'd have grown up to be terrorists. You see how this works? Don't get me wrong. These guys who make up the Islamic State, these are not nice people, okay? These are not fellers I'd want to invite over to a barbecue or sit down and have a beer with, But they haven't done anything to me. They have not invaded my nation. We had to spend a whole hell of a lot of money to mobilize equipment to go a long way away from the United States to kick their ass. For what? What do we get out of it? I mean, are we going to get tribute? If we conquer these guys, will our troops come home bearing gold and slaves, like the Romans did? What's in it? What do we get? What gain? Are we going to bring them freedom and Western-style plumbing? They don't want it. Historically, they've been run by warlords and strongmen. That seems to be the type of leadership that works there. What are we going to be Saddam? Are we going to go take the place of Saddam? Is that our role in world affairs? Is that the function you wish your nation to be involved with? I guess all the Jews that were gassed in World War II was all made up. Well, you know, I'm sure there were some Jews that were gassed in World War II. I think the 6 million number is blown out of proportion, but that's, you know, that's neither here nor there. You know, they call me a Holocaust denier. They call me a climate change denier. I mean, you know, I get labeled with a lot of different labels. So, you know, if you want to buy into that label, you go right ahead. You are certainly free, in the United States of America at least, to hold an opinion, even one that I disagree with, and even in the chat room that I moderate. You are free to express opinions, particularly opinions that disagree with my own. Let's see. Projected U.S. nuclear weapons spending hits $1 trillion. $1 trillion. Man, they're going to have to run those presses at the Federal Reserve overtime to gin up $1 trillion. Well, I guess nowadays they can do it by a computer. They can just add a couple of zeros. No big deal. Just 5 years after Obama's Nobel Peace Prize. Let's see. The U.S. spent more in 2014 on nuclear weapons research, development, testing, and production than ever, including during World War II. Well, in World War II, you know, they didn't really have much in the way of nuclear weapons, so I guess that's not a fair comparison. But, you know, even during the time of the Cold War, when, in theory, we were facing down a determined enemy who could nuke us at any minute. I remember those duck and cover campaigns. I remember having to, you know, hide under my desk at school and put my hands over my head because, you know, them Ruskies, they could drop a nuke on us at any time. And if you hid under your desk and put your hands over your head, that was going to save you. Yeah. Obama campaigned on shrinking America's nuclear arsenal. Yeah, we've seen how that worked out. Plans call for modernizing U.S. weapons to make it better leverage and force the world to shrink arsenals everywhere. By replacing rusting hulks of radioactivities with modern computerized weapons. Yeah, $1 trillion. $1 trillion. I guess y'all heard the climate change protests went on over the weekend in New York. You know, they, you know, there was quite a varied group. I understand that a polar bear got arrested there. It was kind of unusual, but appears there was everything from, you know, Green Party types to flat out communists on the streets protesting our government's failure to engage in climate change legislation, I guess. Now, here's the thing, you know, is the climate changing? Yes. Yes, no doubt about it. However, this is where I disagree. See, when you talk to somebody like Al Gore, see, he seems to think that if instead of using the petroleum-backed dollar, if next week we convert over to carbon credits as what backs our financial exchange, and if you, every one of you out there, no matter where you live in the world, as long as you pay appropriate carbon taxes that magically climate change will disappear, the polar bears will survive, and everything will be hunky-dunky-dory fine. Now, on that particular score, I have a difference of opinion. Is the climate changing? You betcha. Matter of fact, the climate is changing on most of the planets in the solar system. Did a bunch of yuppies driving their gas-hogging SUVs change the climate? Probably not. Will you, paying a carbon tax, solve climate change? Probably not. But it will provide a new vehicle for those who are currently in power to remain in power, because they will have a monopoly on that which backs your currency. That's what it's all about. So even if oil goes away, they'll back your currency with carbon. That's what it's about. It has nothing to do with with climate change. Anyway, I'm hearing the music. I got to slip out of here while they do some more commercials. I'll be back to bark at the moon some more in just a couple moments. And I'm back. That was the last break for the evening, which means I've got about, 10, 12 minutes here to try and wrap up these last few articles. This one here I got kind of a giggle out of. Those of you who've watched for a while probably know I'm not real thrilled with the idea that we're getting such a rapid influx of immigrants from the South. These people are showing up at the southern border from all over the world. I mean, it's not just Central America, but most of them, the lion's share, do seem to be coming from like Guatemala and Honduras and so forth. But there have been some Africans, there have been some Iranians, there have been some Syrians, and considering what's recently happened in Gaza, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there aren't some Palestinians trying to get here from Gaza, for crying out loud. Maybe they'll settle in Baltimore and New York and Hollywood. I doubt it, not if they're smart. But, needless to say, we have had a rather rapid influx just recently, mainly because of policies that have been put forth by Obama, where he has basically stood on his bully pulpit and said, "Yeah, come on down, boys. We're gonna work something out here. Y'all just come on down. No problem. Just come on down." Well, now that his feet are being held to the fire, and the Latino community is saying, "Okay, now you made us all sorts of commitments. You made us all sorts of promises. Time for payoff." And Obama's saying, "Well, wait a minute. Now we got these here elections coming up, and we're going to have a lot of Democrats that are going to be vulnerable if they're put on the spot to support a legalization campaign right now. So let's just tone down and we'll wait until after these here elections. And I promise you, right after the elections, everything will be cool, boy. We're going to have a party." Well, it came out today. This was released yesterday. This is a article out of National Review that the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, is giving President Obama some wiggle room on his executive action. Remember Obama with his pen and his cell phone? So he ain't even going to go through the Congress. He's just going to write it into law with his pen and his cell phone. After President Obama announced he would wait until after the November midterms to move forward with executive action to grant legal status to millions, some say as many as 30 million. Others say it might be as many as 50 million. See, nobody's really saying how many. All we know from reports in the mainstream media is that it is millions. Now, remember when Ronald Reagan issued amnesty for 8 million, and he said, that's it, never again, no more. From here on out, we're going back to the Eisenhower plan. You come over the border illegally, we're going to pack you up and ship you back in a UPS truck. You know, end of conversation. That's it. You know, we signed off on 8 million of you guys. That's it. We're going to secure our borders. We're going to act like a real nation with real borders. And no, you don't just jump our border and expect to get a pass. You know, you come through the front door like everybody else. You stand in line. You meet the necessary requirements to become a U.S. citizen. That's it. End of conversation. And we all, you know, we gritted our teeth and we said, damn you, Reagan. You know, you were supposed to be a conservative. You weren't supposed to do that. But, you know, he did it. But, boy, he came out with some pretty strong rhetoric, said, never again. That's it. Now we're confronted with our President Obama talking about with just the stroke of a pen, not even asking the Congress for their opinion on it, with an executive order, he plans to legalize maybe 30 million. 30 million. How does that sit with you? Have your kids started school yet? How many of the kids that they're going to school with right now speak English? I mean, is the rest of the class being held back because the teacher has to spend more time paying special attention to the recent immigrants who don't know the language? I understand that some middle school children have more of a beard than I do and gray hair. But, you know, I mean, these are minor considerations. I mean, they will soon be legalized U.S. citizens based on Obama and his stroke of the pen. Now, GOP leaders, keep in mind, you know, when we start talking about, you know, GOP and Democrats and Republicans and all, you know, it's two hands of the same bully. You know, one holds your neck while the other one picks your pocket. You know, I mean, it's not like either one of these guys has really done you, Mr. American, any favors. But, you know, they have to at least play act. They have to at least go through the motions. And the GOP lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee fired off a nasty letter to Obama on Monday demanding that he immediately publicize all the recommendations he's gotten on how to go around Congress on immigration. And you can just see Obama, oh my God, they sent me a nasty letter. Oh, what am I going to do now? Oh my God. Yeah, right. Hey, here's a good one, you know. Hey, Google is going to stop supporting climate change science deniers, calling them liars. No, they just have a difference of opinion. You know, it used to be that, you know, we could debate these things in a public forum. And, you know, you may not agree with me, I may not agree with you, but, you know, everybody's argument was at least heard and considered. But in the case of human-caused, and that's the key word there, human-caused, global warming or climate change or whatever the heck you want to call it, this science is in, according to Google, it's a done deal. So, hey, you know, Google has spoken. Therefore, by definition, I guess, you know, it's a done deal, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. Now, I'll tell you, I've only got a couple minutes left, and I did find a couple of good articles on one of my favorite topics. You know how much I just love Obamacare. I just love Obamacare. Thank you, Obama, for giving me this free health care. Never thought it would happen. This one from techdirt.com. Now, it's a techie publication. These guys know their way around a computer, know a little bit about software. And this is from the, well, that's not at all comforting department. We've written before about how problematic the technology is behind the federal government's healthcare.gov website, pointing out that the federal government hired political cronies rather than web development experts to build it. That's why it cost $1 billion and still don't work. Anybody who knows anything about putting together a really slick e-commerce website could have told those crazies in D.C. that a really nice website could have been put together for, a mill and a half, and it not only would it have worked, but it would have looked slick, and it would have impressed people, and it would have been easy to use. It would have acquired all the necessary data and done all the necessary data exchanges. Building an e-commerce website for somebody who knows what they're doing is not rocket science, okay? There are plug-in modules you use, basically, and it, $1 billion. Yeah, they hired their friends from college to do it, paid 100 times too much to get it done, and it still don't work. But now, a damning new report from the Government Accountability Office, GAO, more or less confirms this is the case. This is further backed up by an even more astounding behind-the-curtain of healthcare.gov rollout released by the House Oversight Committee. To be fair, the GAO is nonpartisan and known to be even-handed and fair. Yeah, right. That is not always the case with congressional committees. Bottom line is, a year out, healthcare.gov still don't work. Chances are it won't work, not until they decide to pay the $1.5 million to have some halfway decent web designers come in and actually do it right. Here's another one. This came from Newsmax.com. The architect of Obamacare, Dr. Zeke Emanuel, was being interviewed on MSNBC's Morning Joe, and he explained why he believes that 75 years of life was long enough for a person to live, saying that's about the time health begins to start to decline. Therefore, by definition, if we can get you to off yourself by the time you're 75, healthcare.gov might actually be able to turn a profit. And we really do need that revenue because, we were looking at this Obamacare thing thinking we were going to have this big windfall of cash, and you guys ain't cooperating. The only people that are signing up for Obamacare are those that get all the subsidies. They're not paying full price. We need you, Mr. Middle Class American. We need you to sign up for Obamacare and pay the double price that we expected you to pay all along because, frankly, you got to pay double so those other people can get it for next to nothing. And we need that profit. Your government is starving. We need that revenue. Open your wallet, sign up for Obamacare, do it today because you, like me, I know you just love Obamacare. Yeah. And if you didn't figure out that was a big line of BS, shame on you. Western Africa, Ebola. Cuba is sending doctors. China is sending doctors. C.D.C. says that might be 1.4 million cases by January of next year. And the United States sends troops. It is interesting to keep in mind that this area of West Africa has been found to contain vast resources. They have been decimated by this Ebola thing. They've now accumulated tremendous loans from the International Monetary Fund, which they may indeed have to pay up with those resources. Hey, I'm hearing the music. That's it for me. I've done enough barking at the moon for 1 week. I'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll just have to do it again. Good night, all. All right, what's the deal? You guys haven't had enough of me for one night? Let's see here. Yeah, this Ebola thing, right now, the numbers that folks are throwing around would have us believe that a little less than 3,000 people have died from Ebola. And best numbers I've seen would indicate that there might be as many as 6,000 people infected. But you have to understand the psychology of the people in that area, okay? See, back in the 70s, Westerners came in there all, highfalutin saying, hey, we got this here vaccine for polio. All of our people have taken the vaccine for polio, and this is good stuff, and it's going to save a lot of lives and solve a lot of problems. So y'all just need to roll up your sleeve and take this here polio vaccine. And shortly after the polio vaccine was given to a whole lot of Africans, the scourge of AIDS appeared in Africa and decimated their populations. Now, that kind of got them a little bit suspicious, and some hints came out that, those vaccines might indeed have been tainted. Later they came out, we got this here vaccine for typhus, and y'all need to roll up your sleeve and take this thing, this typhus. And, typhus vaccine killed off a lot of Africans. And, there was this research center. I understand it was, running level 3, really should have been a level 5, but, there was this research center that was apparently researching Ebola at a location in the nation of Sierra Leone. And actually, the research center was actually funded by the Bill Gates charity, his foundation. And there is some speculation. That the current wave of Ebola might have escaped from this research center. Nobody, I've heard all kinds of speculations. I mean, I've heard some come right out and say that the current wave of Ebola is a biologically engineered disease that attacks those with West African genetic structures, that it's a genetically targeted virus that's very specific to a particular genome, and that, it is being used to depopulate the western sub-Saharan region of Africa. I don't know that to be a fact. I do know that over the years, those people have gained a healthy suspicion for guys in white coats with white faces coming in saying, hey, I got the latest and greatest best cure for you. So when they say little less than 3,000 have died, little less than 6,000 might be infected, those are the ones we know about. I would bet you that a lot of the folks who have become infected or perhaps even died from Ebola are being hidden by their family, don't want to have anything to do with anybody that has a white face and a white coat, because, people who look like that have been known to come in and kill people. There was a case where some aid workers who were going through, the small villages out in Nowheresville, out in the middle of these African nations, they were hacked up and killed. I mean, they were just flat murdered because, the local population's suspicion of these people is based on a long history of being abused by such people. Unfortunately, that could cause this disease to escalate more quickly than it might otherwise. I'm not saying that Western medicine really has that much to offer these people. It is interesting that the Caucasian doctors that have been brought out of that area and treated using the best that Western medicine has to offer have, for the most part, recovered. There's been a couple of exceptions. There was that Spanish priest who was brought out basically on his deathbed and apparently was only given one of the 3 required injections of, this antiviral. He didn't make it. But, he was an old guy, and he was not in that great of health anyway, and he got slammed with this Ebola and waited way too long to put his hand up and say, oops, I'm sick. So, that one, there might not have been much they could have done for him anyway. Bottom line is, Ebola could turn out to do what the New World Order has been hoping and praying for, which is cause a mass depopulation of that particular area. The government of Liberia may fall. They've been hit really hard. Frankly, a lot of government officials, a lot of the guys who are running the country, have come down with this disease. Quite a few of them have died. They've taken on tremendous debt. Trying to take care of this problem. All of their vast store of resources, which could have made this particular region one of the most wealthy in the world, has been put on the auction block to satisfy loans to the IMF. So, it's all very convenient that the big-time globalist banking interests seem to be getting everything they want out of that region while people are dying. And the response of the United States, of course, is to send 3,000 troops. Interesting how that works. I wish I had more insight on it. Believe me, I hear all the stories from both sides. I hear the craziest of the wild conspiracy stories right down to the, this is a really bad virus and we really need to get in there and take care, and everything in between. And to be honest with you, I really don't know what the answer is. I do kind of wish that my nation was doing a little bit more than sending 3,000 troops and enough treatment beds to, I guess, service about 150 people. I mean, that's our commitment to this thing so far. So, we're going to have to keep an eye on it and see. I suspect that the panic will get much larger when the first cases of Ebola show up in Texas, New York, London, Hong Kong. I suspect at that point, Ebola will all of a sudden become very real. We'll just have to see. Let's see, is there anything else in here? There is one more. There's one more story. I don't know how the economy's been treating you. I know the 1%ers seem to be rolling in fat. They're just, happy days are here again. In 1988, That wasn't that long ago, 1988. The typical American adult was 40 years old, white, married, had a high school diploma. If he was a man, he probably worked full-time. If she was a woman, she probably didn't. 25 years later, Americans are older, more diverse, much better educated. We are less likely to be married, more likely to live alone. Work is divided more evenly between the sexes. One thing that hasn't changed since 1988, the median household income. Keep in mind that at this point, if you're a married couple, chances are you're both working. The median household income remains $52,000. So 25 years later, we're older. Yeah, we're more diverse. We come in more colors. Work is more evenly divided between male and female. You know, the woman no longer considers it her highest goal to stay home and raise the next generation. Now, females tend to gravitate towards careers. We're much less likely to be married, more likely to live on our own. So a lot of things have changed. One thing that has not changed is that the median household income is still that same $52,000 that it was back in 1988. So yeah, last 25 years, the middle class has been under assault and is, in fact, dying a slow and painful death. Children who were born in the 1980s, who were raised in middle-class households, no longer consider it reasonable to do better than what Dad did. I remember my generation, you know, I'm going to do better than my dad did. Each generation that came along, you know, that was our goal, you know. Grandpa got this far, you know, Dad got that far. Well, I'm going to get a little further than Dad did, you know, and my kid's going to be this much better than I was. But, you know, kids nowadays look around. A lot of them have very expensive educations and the opportunities to capitalize on that investment in education just ain't there. Another sign of the drying up of the middle class. Remember public-private partnerships? Remember public-private partnerships? Anytime a politician looks you in the eye with a big smile, a lot of white teeth, and says, public-private partnership, grab hold of your wallet, because that means he's about to take something from you. You, Mr. Taxpayer, you spent a lot of money building this here highway. But, you know, we've been thinking about it, and, you know, we'd like to have a big chunk of cash now instead of, you know, a little bit here and there along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell that there road that you paid to build. We're going to sell it to this company over here. They're going to put toll booths on it. So now you get to pay a toll to drive on the road that you paid to build. And the company, they're going to make money, and they're going to give us a big chunk of change right now so we can all pay ourselves a bonus. That is a public-private partnership, and a lot of that was going on not too long ago. Well, Financial Times put it this way: the fall in traffic volumes on U.S. roads since 2004 has undercut the financial assumptions behind a series of deals devised in the middle of the last decade during an infrastructure investment boom. Basically, they took money from you to build highways and to build other stuff, infrastructure building, and then they sold it to private corporations and were going to rent it back to you. A lot of local governments don't even own their own court building or police station. They get you, the taxpayer, to pay to build that building. Then they turn around and they sell it to an investment group to generate a big chunk of instant cash. And then they charge you once again to turn around and rent it from the guys they sold it to. That's how things are done here in the United States. That is a public-private partnership. Just another way to steal from you, not once, but twice. Well, the moral of the story is an Indiana company has just declared bankruptcy because, the tolls on the road that they bought aren't paying enough to keep the road up. So I wonder if Indiana's going to get the road back. I mean, the people of Indiana paid for that road in the first place. Maybe we should just revert to the previous owner. I don't know. Maybe they just close the road down. The company went out of business, so, we just have to close that road down. You folks who live off that road, too bad. All right, guys, that's it. That was the last of my articles that I had planned to present tonight. So I will now consider anything has to be better than Walmart. I'm not sure what that, I'm going to have to go back and read through the chat. That might actually make sense if I go back and read. But were there any important items in the news this past week that I was lax about and did not get to? Anybody want to if that guy who thinks I'm anti-Semite, climate change denier, Holocaust denier, if he's still out there, if he wants to take some more shots at me, he's welcome to. I don't care. I've been doing this for a long time. You cannot possibly say anything naughty to me that hasn't been said better. Massive IRS fraud. Which one, Maury? I mean, there are so damn many IRS frauds. Just between you and me, the IRS is a public corporation that's formed in in Puerto Rico. It's not even based in the United States, and it's craziness. I mean, if we really wanted to get into all the scandals associated with the IRS, we'd have to go back to 1913, and I have grave reservations as to whether or not the 16th Amendment was ever even really passed, and frankly, there have been some court rulings that would indicate that the 16th Amendment was never legally ratified by the states. The 16th Amendment, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is the amendment to the Constitution upon which the IRS and the income tax. Income taxes were supposed to be illegal under the Constitution. There is some very vague wording in the 16th Amendment that they used as an opening to tax your income. That was illegal under the Constitution. 16th Amendment, in theory, made it legal. Well, there have been court rulings that have said, well, yeah, the 16th Amendment might not have actually been ratified by the states, but we've been doing it so long, we're used to having that money, that we're going to take it from you anyway. That is actually the ruling that has come down from U.S. courts. Yeah, it might be unconstitutional, it might be illegal, but we've kind of grown accustomed to having that money, so we're going to take it from you anyway. Isn't it nice to live in a nation based on law? The rule of law, yeah. So, as far as the 60 Minutes IRS scandal, I mean, which one? Which one did they cover? I don't have a television, so I do not watch commercial news. I do not watch mainstream news at all. I try to avoid it. You know, I have to delve into a little bit of it. You know, I'll read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or something like that to prepare for these broadcasts. But in general, I don't watch television at all. Let's see. Will you start the Smart Scarecrow show again in the future? That's a tough one, Tommy, I tell you. Right now, I would say no. That does not preclude my doing a special, an alternative energy special, if something comes up that is just, you know, really super deluxe. But the level of effort required to put on that show as a regular fixture every week, it's more than I can bear. It's more than I can bear. I'm sorry that nobody else picked up the torch and ran with it. I thought for sure maybe some interested party would, you know, miss the Smart Scarecrow show and do something to fill in. But, you know, we ain't seen that happen yet. I need to start building something. Well, you know, I got the slab laid, and you know, I'm starting to think about putting the double wide on the retirement house. So, you know, we'll have to see. I am getting dangerously close to the age of retirement. Let's see, rule of law, yeah, law of the rulers. You know, well, let's see, I can do my, you know, here's that's my nuclear war background, you know, with all the missiles, and you know, we got to, actually, you know, I sometimes do a Star Trek background just for giggles. Let's see. War games, yeah. Well, believe it or not, you know, I don't want to toot my horn, but this goofy presentation, this you know, this craziness, you know, the old country boy barking at the moon as if anybody was listening. It gets an audience that would scare you. You know, average audience on my broadcasts on the Rents Radio Network is about 5,000, sometimes as many as 15,000. It does have a global reach. I get letters that I have to translate from Chinese. And they're, you know, they are talking to me about, you know, they want me to do a Monday through Friday presentation. I'm telling them the same thing I just told Tommy. I said, you know, there ain't enough hours in the day. You know, one day a week is about all I can really afford as my penance, my community service, what I try to give back. You have to understand, I am an old geezer. And I have lived a charmed life, an absolutely charmed life. I have been extremely wealthy. I have been extremely poor. I've been everywhere in between. But all things considered, when I look back at my life, I had it good, real good. I was raised in a little Leave It to Beaver paradise. I was extremely well educated, extremely well read. I was given opportunities that many people out there will probably never get. I've done, let's see, I have reinvented myself now about 5 times. I have had 5 distinct careers during my lifetime and done moderately well at all of them. So I look back at my lifetime and I had it good. I owe this nation, I owe this society for providing me with a lifetime this time around that was an absolute vacation. So yeah, you know, when I do this show, yeah, this is my penance. This is my community service. This is me trying to give back. I mean, a lot of people out there think I hate the USA because, you know, back in the day, I was a long-haired hippie freaky person yelling, "Hell no, I won't go." You know, I've always gotten right up in power's face and spoken truth to power. Yet I've survived, you know. So, you know, I don't just assume that my country do or die. My country can do no. If you don't like it, you ought to leave it. Bullshit. I was born here. This is my nation. And if I don't like what's going on, I'm going to say so. And if they don't like it, well, you know, the worst they can do is kill me. And at this stage in life, I ain't much afraid of that because I figure it's coming soon enough anyway. Well, let's see. I'm not seeing anything out there that you guys can't handle without me, and I have been at this post show now for about 27 minutes, so I'm thinking seriously about wrapping it up, getting this puppy packaged for YouTube, and getting my jammies on and heading to bed. So unless I go get one more time now, if there's any serious issue that we need to discuss before I wrap this up and shut it down for the evening, speak now, or you're going to have to hold your peace until next week. Yeah, I feel the hook coming. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. A paying gig. Well, you know, see the way this independent media pays is I would have to go out on the street and sell advertising, okay? Now, if I could get some paying advertisers to advertise on my broadcast, then I could actually make money doing this. But as far as putting the content together and having rents broadcast it, no, that part of it is done for free. The way you make money doing this type of broadcast is if you are savvy enough to have your own advertising accounts. You know, if I had accounts that were advertising with me, I could have that revenue. That's how you make money in this business. And I'm not interested in getting out on the street and being an advertising salesman. So, you know, as long as they're interested in having it, I'll produce the content for them for free. Yeah. Did that explain that? Is that about as clear as mud? All right, guys. Y'all have a good evening.
Calling out to you. Won't you turn, won't you turn around?